the Navy Department, each bureau and office has its functions, and the names more or less indicate individual areas of responsibility. The responsibilities of the Bureau of Yards and Docks, one of the Navy's oldest bureaus, have a very broad scope. The planning, design, research, and construction of all U.S. naval structures, and in some instances the operation and the maintenance of these facilities. All means every type of structure anywhere. The Navy's entire shore plant of public works and public utilities, plus some structures not on shore. Thus, the Bureau of Yards and Docks serves not only all the other bureaus, offices, and the Marine Corps, it also serves the Navy Department, all of the shore establishment, and every branch of the operating forces. In short, the whole naval establishment. In this film, we shall see how the Bureau is organized, how it carries out its mission, and how varied are its assignments. The Bureau of Yards and Docks is organized on a flexible, functional basis suitable to both wartime and peacetime needs. The Chief of the Bureau is also the Chief of Civil Engineers of the Navy. The Civil Engineer Corps officers administer the work of the Bureau throughout the naval establishment. These men are staff officers of the Navy. The Bureau also has a sizable staff of civilian specialists, engineers, architects, lawyers, accountants, and other administrative personnel. A third group is the construction battalions, or Seabees, who serve in combat zones in wartime and at other times in areas outside the continental limits of the United States. These three component groups contribute to the planning, the design, the research, and the construction work of the Bureau of Yards and Docks. Construction is the Bureau's primary mission, but its successful accomplishment depends upon the preceding steps. So let's see what each entails. Planning comes first. Planning the Navy's public works and public utilities is always done in cooperation with the interested bureaus and offices. War and peacetime plans for new construction and alterations are worked out with those who will use the facilities. Planning is carried on in many fields and involves many problems. War plans, for example, must always provide for mushroom growth. Compare this recent view of the New York Naval Shipyard with one dating back to the early days of World War II. The most striking change is noticeable in the large basin in the foreground, which has given way to additional graving dock facilities. Just one change out of hundreds that were made. Plans for this facility were well laid. It is one of the earliest graving docks built by the Navy at Portsmouth, Virginia, and is still in use after more than 100 years. The Bureau of Yards and Docks was established for the purpose of constructing Navy yards, and planning these vital facilities is still one of the Bureau's prime responsibilities. Under great pressure in time of war, the Navy yards fulfill their mission, building, berthing, repairing, and overhauling the ships of the fleet. The planning and development of advanced bases is a combination of military planning and city planning, for each base is, in fact, a military city. Every proposed location is studied for its suitability. Decisions are made on the placement and relationship of piers, airfields, storage areas for fuel, food, and supplies. All plans include a complete list of specifications. The procuring and shipping of thousands of material items must be planned. Requirements for construction equipment must be planned. And most important, selection must be made of the essential skilled construction men plus Bureau of Yards and Docks representatives to supervise and inspect the work. Only through such thorough planning can the construction of an advanced base be accomplished on schedule. The Bureau of Ships is involved in planning the construction of floating dry docks, determining how many are needed and what types and sizes are required. Naval aviation has its own particular requirements. Every air station is planned in consultation with the Bureau of Aeronautics. Training stations are not just spaces assigned for making men out of boys. Every training facility is carefully planned with the Bureau of Personnel. Planning goes on constantly with all the bureaus for office buildings and other necessary structures throughout the shore establishment. The second phase of the Bureau's work follows naturally. Design of construction calls for versatility blended with knowledge of materials. All naval structures are designed either by Bureau personnel or by private firms working under the direction of Bureau specialists. Functional form and economy are reflected in the design of temporary living quarters. Long life with low maintenance cost was the aim in the design of these permanent quarters. The same considerations influenced the design of these barracks, and their style will keep its appeal for a long time. Every structure is designed with its purpose in mind, and the variety demands versatile designers. The Navy's architects and engineers are responsible for the plans of the Navy's many schools, from the highly specialized technical training variety to the Naval Academy at Annapolis, with its traditional great halls so closely associated with naval history. The National Naval Medical Center represents a high standard in design that is both attractive and subservient to the needs of the Navy's health. It is an outstanding example of teamwork between civilian architects and their colleagues in the Bureau of Yards and Docks. The design of those facilities that add much to life in the Navy, not only in recreation but also in inspiration, is an important part of the work of the Bureau's architects and engineers. The technical needs of the shore establishment call for many unusual and specialized designs. These skyscraping radio towers, for example. This giant hammerhead crane, an important development in modern shipbuilding and repair, is also a Bureau of Yards and Docks design. It can handle large loads just as precisely as small ones, and can lift 350 tons if necessary. The Navy's great 1,100-foot concrete dry docks can handle any ship afloat. They were designed for shipbuilding as well as ship repair. These docks were built almost entirely underwater and were put into use in the remarkably short time of 16 months. Only after they were completed and the water was pumped out were these great structures seen in their entirety. Floating dry docks are strategical weapons that can follow the fleet wherever it goes. Perhaps the most spectacular of these is the large sectional dock with a load capacity of 100,000 tons. The sections are towed individually to any suitable spot on the globe. There they are assembled into a self-contained unit. They were one of the great innovations developed during the war. The David Taylor Model Basin is another example of design ingenuity. It has an unobstructed interior length of 1,300 feet. This great length is necessary in testing various forms of hull models. The performance of small-scale models predicts the performance of full-scale vessels. This unusual structure at New London looks like a water tank. It is, but it was designed for a unique purpose. the training of submarine crews in the use of underwater escape devices. This hangar covers 7.5 acres of floor space without a single column or other obstruction. Here's another Navy-designed hangar. The largest aircraft can be accommodated here for electronic tests. To make this possible, the hangar had to be completely shielded against all outside electrical interference and disturbances. Design extends to all types of ammunition storage facilities. The use of small isolated units, carefully laid out, contributes to the underlying consideration in the design: safety. One of the Navy's largest buildings is this warehouse, with a volume of 11 million cubic feet. Located in a crowded terminal, the 16-story design gives maximum volume on minimum ground area. But where extensive ground space is available, single-story warehouse design offers many advantages: a higher percentage of usable space, less expensive traffic flow, and faster construction time. This type of building is now known all over the world. The Navy produced or procured more than 150,000 of them during World War II. The steel arch rib design was the answer to the Navy's wartime need for a temporary building that was simple to make, to transport, to set up, and to dismantle. But designers can work best only when they know the materials and construction methods that exemplify improvement and progress. And that's where research comes in. Research in the specialized field of construction for the Navy. At Port Hueneme, California, laboratory facilities are provided for study and research in the field of construction. Here, equipment is checked for suitability, and its actual working performance is observed. The laboratory also does research in construction methods. For example, building roads out of beach sand. Studies at other locations under other conditions augment the research done at Port Hueneme. The services of outside laboratories are employed whenever practicable for the special assistance they can offer the construction research program. But much of the Bureau's own work has led to many advances. The Navy's steel pontoon box is one example of practical research. The basic block principle gives these boxes countless uses. Assembled into long causeways, these pontoons proved effective in many landing operations. They have also been used for breakwaters, seaplane ramps, and fuel oil tanks. But a most ingenious application was the use of 1,000 pontoon boxes fastened to the top of a wing wall of a floating dry dock section. This dock section was too wide to go through the Panama Canal in the normal way. But the Navy's engineers solved the problem. By careful flooding and pumping, the section was careened all the way up to 90 degrees. Floating on its side, it was towed through the canal. Soil erosion can create many construction problems in drainage and foundation work. Studies of soil mechanics range from the action of one drop of water, here shown in ultra-slow motion, to the action and control of floodwaters. The atomic blasts at Eniwetok have given valuable information on the strength and weaknesses of experimental structures. Thus does the Bureau's research activity keep pace with new problems and new developments. Planning, design, and research all lead to construction. Construction is a twofold activity for the Bureau. It supervises the work of civilian contractors, and it performs certain operations through the work of the Seabees. In addition to the examples of Navy construction you've already seen, all Marine Corps construction, each type of structure tailor-made to suit its special purpose, is handled by the Bureau. The value of these properties alone runs into many hundreds of millions of dollars. Here are some other examples. Towers have been built on the permafrost of Alaska, where much of the work had to be done in temperatures of 50 degrees below zero. The Marine Railway at New London is one of the largest in existence. The ways were built mainly of concrete poured underwater. The Navy's modern power plants are built under the direction of the Bureau. Special privately operated war plants were designed and built under the Bureau's direction. In addition to construction, the Bureau is concerned with the maintenance and repair of all naval structures through local public works officers, who are members of the Civil Engineer Corps. The Bureau also establishes standards under which all Navy vehicles are purchased, maintained, and operated. This also applies to all of the Navy's weight handling, construction, and railroad equipment. One other activity might be mentioned. It concerns the Navy's real estate holdings. The Bureau of Yards and Docks has custody of all Navy real estate property and the transactions involved in acquiring it and disposing of it. The construction record covers more than 100 years. It reached its peak during World War II, when the Bureau handled an $8 billion building program. Responsibility for naval construction is a big assignment, and the Bureau of Yards and Docks, through the Civil Engineer Corps, the civilian specialists, the Seabees, and the civilian contracting companies, is set up to carry it out. Working as a team, they serve the entire naval establishment.